And do that.
Welcome to the Cash Flow to Go show with your hosts, Jeff Weibel and Matt McKeever.
Good evening, guys.
So, how's everyone doing?
Well, yeah, we'll let the chat kind of grow a bit there. Yeah. Let's talk about how we're doing, actually.
Yeah.
So
we're drinking water.
We had a very good real estate networking event last night.
We networked so hard last night.
That we barely real estated today.
Yeah.
Although you got some stuff done.
Yeah, actually it was, like, despite the fact that, except for when 100% necessary, I didn't leave my bed, I was still able to,
Well, it's funny, even if you're not feeling well, or
Yeah.
because of self-inflicted wounds like us,
Yeah.
or if it was cold or something like that, you can get a lot done on your phone lying
Yeah.
in bed. I can
100%.
sort out a lot of stuff without having to like talk to people, just from texting and stuff like that. So
yeah,
even if we're home, we can still do some work. But basically, last night we had a black tie dinner at the London
Yeah.
Club in London, Ontario, and it was quite the exclusive little event. It was pretty much just we could get out there, relax a bit, not really worry about anything that's going on in the outside world within there, and just kind of like let loose as real estate investors a bit and talk to some pretty high up people around the city and area. So it was pretty good.
yeah, it was tons of fun. First time I ever wore a bow tie. It was a clip on though.
So we Joseph's Clothiers in London, Ontario, hooked all the guys up with their tuxes for
Yeah,
the evening.
it was awesome.
And it was a Rat Pack themed, which if you don't know what that is, it's like Frank Sinatra in the 1960s and late 50s, kind of like a dinner club kind of evening where they were singing, and we had food and drinks and seafood and all this stuff.
It's really funny, just like
Yeah.
the confidence you get when you just dress nicely and you just embrace it, right? Like, you know, like wearing the tuxes and stuff. Like, I think we ended up being measured kind of like 3 times or had 3 fittings with the stuff, and like it just fit us so well, and like you just feel like a baller,
you guys
right?
look great, yeah.
Yeah, it was tons of fun. So yeah,
And I should have a video about what occasions to dress for what coming out soon, basically based on like last night and everything like that. And if you guys don't know, we're on Matt's channel obviously right now, but like you can get over, you can help me out and subscribe on my channel. It's just Jeff Weibo at YouTube there. I'm at 202 subscribers
that's
right
good,
now,
man.
which I'm pretty sure this month I've gained like 123 or something like that, or whatever. Like, so we'll see. If you guys can, we'll see if I'm at more than 202 by the end of the Cash Flow to Go show. Open up another browser and subscribe. I've been doing some good realtor tips in there and some landlord tips. So, because I'm not gonna copy your channel, I'm gonna kind of make it my own. Obviously, right? You got all your numbers. So far, I've had success with just some short little videos versus like you've been pretty more consistent on like that 11-minute kind of like because Matt really studies the YouTube algorithm and all that. Right. I'm just like learning, but I appreciate all the comments. I know we got a lot of the same guys like Levy commenting every time, right? So appreciate that. I don't know if he's in there right now.
Speaking of YouTube, make sure that you smash that like button right now. Also, if you're not subscribed, hit the notification bell so you get a heads up whenever we're going live. But we're usually going live Fridays, 5:30 Eastern Standard Time. And otherwise, feel free to share this on social media, guys. Sharing is caring.
Right.
What's
our top amount of views?
30 concurrent.
Okay, so
yeah, if we
today,
can beat 30, that'd be
start
awesome.
sharing. Tell your mom to get on and watch. We need 30 concurrent views. 31 today. Okay.
Yeah,
so
that's the goal. So we're gonna see if we can.
You know
hit
where
it.
we're really gonna get that, or maybe even like 10x that.
I will 10x.
Is probably in what 2 weeks now. So,
2 weeks, maybe 20 days.
So if everybody remembers, we kind of teased it last week, but we're off to Los Angeles. So to meet up with Graham Stephan and other YouTube stars there and see what happens.
We're also going to hit up Eric at Fastletics. We might take a little road trip down to San Diego. That'll be fun. And actually, like, we're literally just going to LA because YouTube, right? Like, obviously to see Graham and stuff, but like the way we met Graham was through YouTube, right? And so like, it's just crazy when you start putting yourself out there, the sort of value you can actually get from these experiences. You know, I talk about it all the time on my channel, but like, there's really no sense in being the lone wolf, guys. I honestly think it's much funner to be part of a pack than the lone wolf. So I highly recommend you create your own real estate rat pack.
Yeah.
But so yeah, one of the cool things about last night was actually I was talking to another real estate investor here in London, Sean Allen, and we were just talking about private deals and stuff, and he was asking, what sort of did I have on the go, blah blah, and I started explaining to him I've been like talking to and negotiating with this one private seller for like it's literally approaching a year now, and it's been very frustrating, and I'm just kind of explaining the consistent problems I was having in like actually closing the deal, and then all of a sudden like I just heard myself talking, but I was really pretty much just kind of like bitching or complaining to Sean, and all of a sudden like something just kind of like snapped, and I was like, I've been dealing with this guy for a year now, so I actually know a fair bit about him. I kind of feel like I know him a bit, and like now that I know a lot more about him, why am I not really tailoring kind of my offer and even just like my approach and verbiage to really meet kind of his profile, right? Mm-hmm. Like I was doing things like in a very particular way that like I consistently had success with, but anyways, like I can't really get into the exact details on this deal yet because it's not firm. But once it does, I'll share it with you guys. But like, it was really cool just how all of a sudden like a light switch just went off.
It's you put all the like-minded people in one room, and then these kind of things happen, right? You go home and just redouble your efforts, right? Mm-hmm. I'm sure that's happened to you guys out there too.
Yeah, because like literally, I was just bitching to Sean. And I was like, right now he's just listening to me bitch and complain, and he's just to be like, stop complaining.
Yeah,
just get it done.
So versus like if you didn't put yourself out there, like when we go to LA. Positive energy, something's gonna happen to us because like we're just around creative minds, right? So
absolutely,
that's what we're banking on. Like we're not going there for vacation. We don't take vacations. We just go to LA to live. So and honestly, flights weren't that bad for all the.
Actually, it was really good.
Like I think we're $550 each to go out there, so it wasn't too bad. Canadian,
so that's pretty cool.
For a week, and then we're. Room hacking or house hacking? Yeah, just staying with Graham. So probably sleep on the floor somewhere. But we'll see if I.
But
Beverly Hilton.
Gonna be pretty cool to check out his new YouTube studio too. He's been showing it on Snapchat and stuff, and it looks awesome.
Yeah, check out his studio. I'm sure we'll shoot a video in there. And then we're gonna have to rent this place.
Yeah, we're gonna have to just keep one-upping each other. But yeah, and so otherwise, I don't know. What are you saying?
Adam? Yeah, we got a couple questions. The chat room's warming up here. We've got 20 people watching right now.
Sweet, that's awesome, actually.
8 likes so far.
Yeah.
We got a couple queued up.
So room for 12 more likes.
Absolutely. So we're telling them to share. So Hungarian Experiments out there telling people to share.
Thank you, man.
I can see him posting here. I might share once while you're asking.
Lots of people smashing the like button. Kellen is just in here smashing the like button.
Kellen, how's your head?
Right on. We do have a question about wholesaling.
Okay.
Could you guys offer or elaborate on any advice you could give to get into wholesaling with limited funds?
Sure. So like one of the nice things about wholesaling is there's a few different ways you can approach it. And so if you're wholesaling real estate in general, if you're not doing like a double close, you don't actually need a ton of money in order to do it. Usually the way it works in most North American regions is you're going to essentially get a property under contract. You're going to have a piece of paper where the seller agrees to sell it to you, and essentially you're going to have to put down some earnest money, a deposit, but that deposit really doesn't have to be a lot. A lot of the advanced real estate investors and stuff will brag about how they tied up properties for only $1. That is possible. That is real. I think it's less realistic than normal, though. I think usually you're going to want probably between $500 to $10,000 in order to kind of tie up those private deals. So you really don't need a lot of money in order to start wholesaling. But the way to really get started in wholesaling is simply just go out there and find a deal. And so the best ways to find a deal are, it's not going to be on Realtor.ca or the MLS. It's going to be a private deal. So you're going to need to knock on doors. So some of the strategies we've used so far is literally knocking on doors, like where I've gone and knocked on a door and said, hey, I'm looking to buy a house on your street. Do you know anyone thinking of selling? Mm-hmm. And the way, you want to spend a fair bit of time figuring out how you want to kind of structure your script. Usually you don't want to ask to buy a person's house because it's kind of off-putting right off the bat, right? Whereas if you ask about buying a property on their street, all of a sudden you have something in common with this person now, right? You're potentially going to be their new neighbor and stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And it's less aggressive and less intimidating that way. So knocking on doors is great. Also like flyers or mailers. And so again, you could literally just stuff flyers in everyone's mailbox if you wanted. You could pay someone to do that.
Bandit signs.
Yeah, so bandit signs, this is where you start to get into that gray or black area, but like depending on the exact jurisdiction and like the rules in your municipality, you may or may not be able to do it. But essentially what these bandit signs are, they're like the black and yellow signs you see that say like, we buy houses, you know, we pay cash, all those different things. And you essentially just plaster them around the neighborhood or an entire city depending on your marketing budget. And so, you know, they'll either be ones like they put up on like a telephone pole, or it'll be one you just stick in the ground, right? And so you just want to place those at like major intersections. The same idea, like think about where are a lot of people going to see this, right?
And you can do this on Kijiji or Craigslist as well, and you could even have like your own Instagram, a separate account just for this. Like start thinking a little bit outside the box a bit too, and start liking and following all local businesses, and just get some local eyes on your Instagram account, which is like the city can't say anything.
Yeah, actually, that just sparked an idea in my mind. We should start an Instagram account that's for shitty houses, and what it is people take photos of shitty houses they see in London, and then tag us, right? And then we'd have
go
leads.
knock on the door.
Yeah.
Have the public work for us.
Yeah, that's scaling your time. I like that. Okay.
We had actually a couple follow-up questions in the same vein as this. We've got people asking if you guys know any wholesalers in the eastern part of the GTA. People asking if you know any wholesalers north of the city, like Bruce County, Grey County, Owen Sound area. I'm not sure if you guys do know anyone out there, but maybe you could talk about maybe how you could track down wholesale.
There's that
if you don't.
Nav guy who's out of Toronto.
Yeah. So DM Jeff if you want the Toronto area stuff. But
I know a guy for that.
Honestly, a lot of wholesalers, a lot of online wholesalers will wholesale anywhere and everywhere. You know, I think there's a couple different types of wholesalers too. So like, there's gonna be geographic specific ones. So that's like probably more like, say like a guy like myself that just knows the market really well and looks at a ton of deals, but isn't going to either want to or be able to execute on every single deal he sees. So he's going to share some of them, right, and make some money. The other type of wholesaler is like, you know, they're really approaching this like a business, and so they're willing to sell you anything and everything, anywhere and all the time. And so like that's kind of what NAB does, right? But as far as how can you find them, you know, look in Kijiji, like in your local area, and look to see, does someone have an ad saying we buy houses, because that's your future wholesaler, right? Otherwise, you know, real estate networking events are fantastic for doing that. So you can either like, you know, if you have a local meetup group, that sort of thing, like we have London on Fire, we have Bigger Pockets meetup and Lyric meetup. But even if you don't have, say, any meetups, and let's say you don't want to create a meetup because whatever reasons, but you still want to be able to try and find real estate investors or like-minded people. Another one is frequently you'll see these like investor tours that go around, right? Like Rich Dad, Poor Dad seminars, those things. And some of those seminars, depending on the exact seminar, aren't that great, but you're still tons of like-minded people there, right? And so you're going to find people that are real estate investors that are going to those events. So I think that's another good opportunity. There's like organizations like RAIN. You can also hit up like Bigger Pockets, honestly. I mention Bigger Pockets all the time because it's literally one of the best landlording resources we have. So definitely check it out there. They got regional forums, so you can get very specific. You can look at only Ontario content, like on that one board. So I think that that's a good approach. I don't think I know of anyone that's like, you know, in Bruce County or anything like that. But at the same time, like, talk to realtors, right? Realtors often have pocket listings, right? And pocket listings are very similar to like what the sort of deals a wholesaler is going to provide you, right? So hopefully that helps give you a starting point.
Good.
Right on. We've got kind of an open-ended question here, but Michael from the Philippines is tuning in. He had a question. Our market is full of new and pre-selling condominium developments and rare fixer-upper properties, which is what I would really like to find to BRRRR. Can you give any advice in terms of trying to find a BRRRable property in a market that maybe isn't well suited for it?
Yeah, that does sound like a challenge. So obviously not very familiar. So I guess like if it's filled with condos and stuff, was there other building waves that happened before, or is it literally kind of this is the first building wave? If there was like, say, building waves 20 or 40 years ago, maybe they only build condos there again, but maybe there's a chance to try and BRRRR older condos, right? Maybe there's an opportunity to BRRRR older condos is what I'm kind of thinking. That might be another angle. I'm going to take your word for it and just accept that there's maybe aren't a lot of older houses you can fix up in BRRRR. So maybe you're going to have to look at a different strategy other than the BRRRR, right? Mm-hmm. It may not work in every single market around the world. I think it works in a lot of markets, but there's other approaches where maybe you can get into like rent to own. That can be another interesting approach. Maybe you can like rent to own condos. And again, the nice thing about that is, depending on how you structure that stuff, you don't necessarily need a ton of money, and you can kind of recycle your money again and again if you're doing the rent-to-owns.
And yeah, just keep thinking outside the box. Maybe there's somebody in the chat you can JV with in their market for properties. So maybe you can't get it done in the Philippines, but maybe your money can go and help somebody else out. So that's an option. But yeah, I don't know how old these condos are. You'd assume there's some older buildings. But,
but it could be so different,
maybe
right?
Just certain neighborhoods.
But maybe is there? So it sounds like there's a ton of condos. Are these like rental condos, or are they just like people living in them? Mm-hmm. Is there an opportunity? Maybe you can pivot and start like Airbnb in a condo, right? Mm-hmm. Do something like that. I think like at the end of the day, not every single real estate strategy is going to work in every single market, but I think in every single market there's a real estate strategy that will work and make you money. So hopefully that gives you some help.
Right on. Question here about property management companies. How do you find a good one?
I'll let you know when I figure that out.
I think you just got to interview a lot of them.
Yeah, referrals is really huge.
That would be good. Like, what I always find, they're either really good at customer service with your tenant, and then they're poor at maintenance. But usually they're really good at maintenance and then not good at talking to your tenant. Because your tenant is like your customer, right, at your store. So you got to really coach them, kinda. So like you might get one, but it's not just you're done. You need to kind of like mold them to what you kind of want. Yeah. If they're a guy that will listen to you too. Right?
Yeah,
so,
and like make sure that you're setting the expectations well and stuff, and just I think clear communications. I think a lot of problems in business often come down to just lack of communication. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, other ways to find like good property management companies. I think there's other ways too where you can maybe try and incentivize them or try and make their lives easier as well, right? Like make it easy for them to manage your properties by like when you hand it over to them on the right foot. Like don't just hand them over a mess, because like it's a lot nicer when people start a project and they start a project on the right foot. Mm-hmm. So that's just like a little tip to maybe how to make it work better. I've heard other people, they'll give out like Christmas bonuses or Christmas presents to their property managers, things like that. Just like little touches to kind of let them know that like you really do appreciate the value they're bringing. I know that's not really helping you find your property manager, but if someone does find a good property manager, I think that's a great idea to try and keep them around. Otherwise, I think, there's an opportunity in some markets. So like student rentals, for example, I think that there's certain people that are student rental landlords that are just good at it, right? And often what you see end up happening is they might start managing a couple other properties for friends or just other people that they meet that own on the same street and stuff. So a property manager doesn't necessarily have to be a full-time person either. You might be able to find alternatives. Maybe there's another landlord that lives on that street, right? Mm-hmm. Or maybe you can segment out portions of the property management and like insource some, outsource some. I honestly, personally, I think referrals are the best way though.
Talking to their landlords and seeing what they like and don't like. Maybe they're gonna tell you right away, like, Mr. Property Manager does or doesn't do this. So then you're gonna be like, okay, do I want to hire this guy?
And figure out what you need. That's huge too, right? Like, are you looking for just someone to collect rents, or are you never talking to the tenants? Are you never doing anything of the property? Or are you just literally once a year checking your financial statements? Mm-hmm. You got to kind of figure that out, because there's also other opportunities. If you're just looking to like buy a turnkey rental and then have a property management company, there's also a lot of like turnkey operators out there. Mm-hmm. Again, like any industry, I think there's some that are great and I think there's some that are terrible, but that may be another option too. So
cool. We got a couple maybe off-topic questions, but I'll maybe throw them out here because there's a good grouping. People asking where your beard is, Matt. Asking if you guys are going to support Movember and if they're going to see mustaches on either of you guys.
So my beard, you guys will get to know me more if you keep watching, but like I frequently just change. So like it was just like a random opportunity where we were doing the real estate Rat Pack last night, and so we're dressing up in like black tie tuxes, and I was kind of like, yeah, Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, they often didn't have facial hair or just a little bit of stubble, so I was like, yeah, I'll lean into it.
Yep.
So that was that.
Carlos,
you trimmed, but
yeah, Carlos wanted to know what hair gel you used, Jeff.
hairspray.
There you go.
Carlos. Gels just
What
wasn't
hairspray?
working. Yeah, we'll have to put a link. So I can get
Get
some
the
affiliate
Amazon
money.
affiliate link.
Right on. Okay, we got a question about real estate. So how do you get into real estate with no experience and no money? It sounds like this guy just lost his job and he's kind of excited, but a little bit anxious too to get into something new.
Sure. So like, I guess first of all, if you're going to get into real estate with no money and no experience,
No job.
well, yeah, like, so I think you need to fix one of those two, right? Like, you either need money or experience. So I think you need to figure out which aspect you're willing to focus on, right? If it's going to be the money part, then you're probably going to need to get a job and start earning some money, or you're going to have to find out a way that you can learn about real estate while getting paid. Mm-hmm. And so options for that would be, you know, maybe consider becoming a property manager, maybe consider becoming a realtor, maybe consider working at a bank and learning finances. Mm-hmm. So that would be one thought I'd have if you're kind of coming to this with a blank slate and you're like, look, I've decided I'm going to get into real estate, this is my thing. I would consider getting into a field that's adjacent to real estate just so you can get some experience and get some money while you're working towards becoming more of a real estate expert. The other option is, you know, you're only going to use other people's money, and that is a valid possible approach, but you're going to have to become an expert then. You're going to have to get lots of experience. So again, you're going to need to get experience. How are you going to do that? Like, you're just literally going to have to get into the trenches and do it.
And what about working for free with a real estate investor? If you can help him out and make his life easier, you're just going to get all the advice. And it's one of those things like just taking that job for free and then it just pays off like way later on, right?
And like, honestly, some of the best experiences and the best learning experiences I've had have been from working for free or next to free, right? Like, you know, doing someone's sorting someone's files, right, for like $20 an hour, and like
Matt literally, without giving it away, Matt emailed the guy being like, "Look, I'm way more qualified than
what this position requires,
but I would love to do this and to help you out, right? So maybe you're given numbers or something, and you could help with this investor for free." And you were rewarded. We won't really get into it.
But essentially what it was, literally there was like just a random job posting on Kijiji that sounded interesting, and like the way the guy wrote it, I was like, it sounds like he's a real estate investor, and it sounds like he's got a fair bit going on to the point where like he's starting to hire people on. And I essentially just reached out to him. I said, look, I'm insanely overqualified for this. I don't even care what you're paying. You can pay me nothing if that's what you decide. But I just kind of want the opportunity to learn from you and kind of chat with you. And even if you're still not interested in like hiring me for this position, I'd love to just sit down and talk. We sat down and talked. We kind of hit it off, and like we just kind of became friends and buddies through that. And eventually that led to some great real estate opportunities and connections. So I think that's a great way to get experience, is working for free or next to it. And then otherwise, like, just consume a ton of content, right? Like, start listening to every single Bigger Pockets podcast. A couple weeks ago, I did a YouTube video, like, how to start out in real estate investing, right? And I just listed some of my favorite resources, my favorite books. So I would just binge on the content nonstop. And figure out a way to get experience or money, one of the two. Ideally, get both.
Right on. We got a question specific to London. So we got Nate, who's watching from London here.
Thanks, Nate.
Wondering what your opinion is on the mortgage broker industry.
Sure. This is interesting. I've been getting a bunch of like mortgage broker questions recently. Like any field, I think mortgage brokers can be great, and I think that there's terrible ones out there as well. The whole idea, so if someone's not really familiar with what a mortgage broker is, they just deal with a bunch of different lenders, and they essentially like broker the agreement between yourself and one of these lenders that they deal with, right? And so essentially the concept is that because they're not stuck with one financial institution, that they're getting a bunch of financial institutions to compete on to your benefit, essentially, is the concept. So what it's supposed to do is it's supposed to result in like a more personal, tailored experience towards what's best for you, as well as getting you the best terms and interest rates to fit your situation. That sometimes happens, and then there's lots of times where that doesn't happen either. And so I think it really comes down to the quality of the individual mortgage broker. I think one problem a lot of real estate investors are going to find is that it's a lot more hassle for a mortgage broker to deal with a real estate investor versus a first-time buyer. And so a lot of mortgage brokers either aren't necessarily going to have experience with a lot of real estate investors, or they're just not going to want the hassle of you as a client, right? It's so much easier to just get that house in suburbia that's very cookie cutter, that there's 1,000 comps and it's so easy.
So that, and then he's talking about what do you think it's in the future of a mortgage broker. I think for those first-time home buyers, like really cookie cuttered, like we just need to see your job letter, we need to see you know your NOAs and all like the cookie cutter things. I feel like they're gonna have to be careful because as technology is moving forward, there could be a very automated vending machine approach to buying a house that could cut out the mortgage broker at one point, where they just like the CRA could just like or the IRS could like send all the data right to however the deal is being funded, and it could cut out the middleman. I'm sure there'll be obviously these complicated deals computers aren't going to be able to sort that out yet. But I'm just talking to some mortgage brokers. They were in fear of that one day. But I guess it's the same thing. Like real estate agents never going to be replaced because real estate's so emotional, and like we're not just inserting your credit card and buying a house, right? So,
yeah, but like real estate or realtors, I think it's going to get more and more competitive, right? Like
you have to show value.
You need to get better. You need to build relationships.
So you as a mortgage broker need to show why you're different than just all the other ones that could be so transactional, right? So if that's the field you're looking to get into. And same thing with agent, you got to stand out a bit more, because if it's just a straight up transaction, then
I think like
a robot can do it.
One suggestion I'd have for like anyone in any industry related to real estate is like streamline your processes, right? Make it so simple for people to succeed, right? Like make it easy for them to make your job easy. So like what blows my mind is like I've dealt with many different real estate lawyers, and they all have different like letters, right, for first time clients and stuff.
What to do.
And so like some are like insanely detail oriented, where like, you know, when I bought my very first home, like it had a list of, you know, London Hydro's phone number, Bell Canada, like just every sort of utility you may need to call. And it's like, do they need to do that? No. But is it a nice touch? Yeah, it makes the process so smooth, and you're like, oh shit, like they're telling me here that like I'll be contacted by the city about property taxes, so I don't even need to stress about that. Like just make it really easy. So like for a mortgage broker, like I've dealt with all kinds of different bankers and mortgage brokers, and like sometimes they'll just be like, oh, like we need this, and they'll rhyme off a bunch of things, but they never like send it to me in an email, or they never send it in a letter or any sort of written form. And so it's really hard for
creating more work
right?
for them. You have to answer the phone 4 times because being like, oh, do you need
or
this NOA 2015? No. Okay, but if it just was like all...
Yeah, so I think just make it like really nice and streamlined, because it also just makes it a much more approachable situation.
And like other topics we've already covered, but like same thing for your property manager, that kind of stuff. Like I like that. Just like really have like a job description. Or like, and then for the broker, show what you want, right?
Yeah,
so
make it
come with your driver's license to the lawyer's office.
Yeah, right. Like
we just had a friend who didn't have his IED card, and he's trying to close on a house, and it jeopardized the sale for a couple hours
because of anti-money laundering rules.
Yeah,
so
that's true. Yeah. You gotta identify you, right?
Yeah,
so if that lawyer would have said, "Here's the checklist," and hopefully the public actually does that when they come in. But obviously, you know, with things that we think are just everybody knows that, right? It's not the case.
Yeah.
So, anyways,
right on. Got a question from Mario. He's got a couple properties and he wants to sell to diversify his portfolio a little bit. Any opinions you guys could offer on, I guess, mitigating tax loss on that?
Oh, so like, okay, well, if you're in the U.S. and you're selling a property to buy another property, depending on the exact situation, there's some rules and stuff, but you can use what's called a 1031 exchange, and so that's going to defer the taxes until you sell that new property. And you can essentially keep using it to level up your investments. Outside of that, so let's say you're dealing with Canadian taxes, and you're going to sell a property, and you're going to buy a new one, and you want to minimize taxes as much as possible. Outside of just like a lot of the traditional advice that I assume is going to be like relatively common sense, like if you incur a bunch of expenses setting up and selling that property, make sure you deduct them from the proceeds, right, to reduce your capital gains. But beyond that, I guess if one of the houses was your primary residence, right? In Canada, you're not going to have to pay capital gains on your principal residence. If, say, you live in one of the units of a multifamily property, you're going to only pay proportionately capital gains on the area that you weren't consuming for personal use. Outside of that, you could do a this is more of a tax deferral strategy, but you could essentially, if you sell a property, so say you sold the property and then you took a vendor take back loan on it, you can defer the taxes over like 5 years. This is in Canada. And so you're going to need to read or talk to an accountant and either learn about this or talk to an expert that knows in depth what I'm talking about. But I'm just kind of giving you interesting points to hopefully like get the wheel spinning, because I'm not going to be able to walk you through step by step. But so those are some spots I would start. So like that last tax deferral strategy I was talking about was, let's say I sold a property for $100,000 and I took back a $100,000 mortgage. I only now have to claim 1/5 of those capital gains every year, assuming that the person I gave the mortgage to doesn't pay it all off in the meantime. So there's some very specific rules there, but that's a way where you could defer it. So like you then maybe, hopefully that helps, or at least
that sounds like maybe
the guy was like writing that all down.
maybe a great question for a future video. Maybe.
Yeah.
We have a question from Matthew French.
Man.
I heard you guys mention asset optimization and keeping everything digital. What tools are you using for your business, tech, and automation to keep things moving quick and efficiently?
Would you want to start with DocuSign?
Oh, right. I was like, so digital signing platforms has made me a fortune. As a new realtor, like I wasn't having, I know one of my first deals I had to like drive around and get the wife to sign at a farm like the paper, and then had to go all the way down to the police station and get the husband to sign in a snowstorm, and it's like then I had to go deliver the papers to the other agent, and I was like, is this real estate? Like, this sucks. And I was like driving from like an hour and a half. Then all of a sudden something called DocuSign, and there's Authentisign and all that. And if Sean, if you're watching, I remember texting him or calling him being like, hey, should I buy DocuSign? It's $200 or something. And he's like, you'd be stupid not to. And I'll never forget that conversation, but yeah, like you can sit at home, digitally sign documents. I even do this with my tenants now, so not just real estate contracts, signing of the leases. I used to have to go to the Tim Hortons or whatever, sit down, explain the lease, and then now they just get it in their inbox, and basically I sign. You can set up a signing order, so like my name can sign everything first. They can initial every single page, so like you don't even have to like forget one, or like how when you get home because you were talking too much and you forgot a signature. You just set this up at home on your own time. It can take 10-15 minutes to set up. You're just plugging in the data pretty much, and then the tenants can sign, and then I also needed the parents' guarantor to sign, or the parents being the guarantors to sign, and it gets fired over to their inboxes. And then in the past, how would I physically get that piece of paper to 3 different or even 5 different tenants, and then get it to 5 different parents? Like, is that supposed to be mailed around Ontario?
Right. And how many days is that going to take versus literally being able to accomplish it in a single day? And what's really nice is that then everyone has a virtual copy,
all
right?
get a PDF.
Everyone's got a copy, so you're never having to like resend the lease because they lost it or they want to figure out what clause or
saves in there. So like it's that streamlined business so much. And then just same way, like we collect rent now a lot digitally as well too.
Yeah, e-transfers. And another thing I use a ton is Dropbox is like a file sharing app. It doesn't have to be Dropbox, but one of those. And what I really like is, I have different folders for each of my projects, right? And those are shared with the specific partners on that project. That way they can sometimes get updated and stuff. And it's great for storing like receipts and other information that you need to access frequently.
The cloud, I store a lot of stuff in the cloud as well.
Yeah. And then otherwise, like these days, like I've started setting up a bunch of different email accounts, right, for specific purposes. So like this email is for like this kind of Matt's real estate, this is Matt's personal, and then you kind of get it's easier if you start like creating systems for everything, right?
And speaking of the Dropbox, good idea as a real estate investor, that streamlined process that we're talking about, have everything in there, your copies of your driver's license, all that stuff. Put it in a Dropbox, and as soon as that new mortgage broker or new bank says, hey, can you send me all your stuff? Just fires off to them, and you're like,
that's a huge pro tip.
Yeah.
Like, I have a folder called my banker folder.
Right.
And it's what my banker's going to want.
All you guys, it's going to happen, and then you're just going to be like, oh, where's my NOA?
It's just a pain in the ass.
And you're trying to log on to the CRA website, and you're trying to, like, download the right files.
And you only got 5 days to waive conditions, you're getting stressed.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
pro tip.
Absolutely, that's a huge one. I'm trying to think. I thought there was one more thing I was going to say.
For streamlining?
Yeah. But I think that's pretty good. Otherwise, like, one of the things I started doing, this isn't like really a digital hack, but this is just kind of like a life hack. Oh, no. Okay, here's another digital one. Is like just Google Calendars is huge for me. And like, just give, in my opinion, I don't give a shit if other people know what's going on in my calendar. So everyone's just got access to it. They can edit, change, and that way, like, I'm not texting back and forth, like, does 10 work for you? Nope. Does 9? Does 10? And just like, look at my fucking calendar and put it in there. But one other thing is I love just getting people to meet me where I am these days. So like once you start getting to the point where people are constantly demanding your time, if you want to try and keep like paying it forward or meeting with them, just like have them always meet you, right? Rather than you meeting them at a location. That way if they're late or if they're slow or
really time to go meet you guys at Tim Hortons every week for 35
it starts adding up once you do like 5 or 10
catch us on the fly. I remember even like I don't know if Brett's on the chat, but
I
remember like there's one guy, he wanted to, learn about some real estate with me, and he's like, hey, can I come up for a coffee? And I was just like, no, but I'm going to see 5 houses today if you want to tag along. And he's like, oh my god. And now he's becoming a realtor, I think in the Kitchener region or something. He was texting me, and he's excited to get in on this, so he's been watching my YouTube as well. But like, look at that, helped change that guy too. Like, what we're going to talk about over coffee, like all the same stuff we talk about here. Coming in the field, and then I think he even saw we bought that fourplex on Hamilton for Justin and Laura all on the same day, so it was a good little day in the field.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was thinking different Brett. Okay, yeah, cool.
Awesome. Roberto's got a question for Jeff.
Yeah.
How can a newly licensed agent gain credibility quickly, and how can one also give a solid impression upon first encounters in person or over the phone?
So, I was lucky that I owned property, so everybody wanted to ask how long you been in real estate, and I'd say, I've been a real estate investor for 5 years, but I've been a realtor for 5 minutes. So at least I could always like fall back on that knowledge a bit. So I kind of skirted the issue a bit of like when I started, because I could always just talk about my properties. That helped with the investors a lot, because it doesn't matter if you're a brand new realtor, but they could see my portfolio. If you're coming from nothing, I would maybe talk about some of the accolades maybe you have, like you're part of a real estate group, or all the extra knowledge you've been reading up on and all that, and like just talk. You'd be like, I know Matt McKeever, he's in London, and like he's just top real estate investor or something like that, right? And
play up your connections and your network, right? So like, like you can be like, I have a great team of people. I have an awesome home inspector I can recommend, a lawyer, an accountant.
Yeah, you need to get those guys quickly on your team. That's just going to streamline your first deal, like rather than like hitting that wall and like you're just trying to figure it out all right away.
And then depending again, like on the brokerage you work for, right? Like maybe you can play up the fame that has, or the words they've
my brokerage. I don't know what area you're in, but I was attracted to it because they sell a lot of high-end homes. So right away when I was brand new, I could say, I work for this brokerage that sells all these high-end homes. So they didn't know that I was new, but they're like, wow, those are some nice product. And then meanwhile, we're just walking through like $100,000 houses with you. But it's just fake it till you make it. There you go.
Yeah, and honestly, don't be afraid to
honestly, that's what I did. I freaking faked it till I made it, like a lot. Like,
but like also like let's say you're brand new to real estate as a realtor, like one way is just like prove it through actions, right? So like start up an Instagram account, post yourself every single day going to look at a new house, right? Like just do a selfie in front, whatever.
So, and like those beautiful homes from my brokerage or whatever, if you find an agent in your office and he's got 20 listings, say, hey, can I advertise your listings? And like you should be doing that every day. Like,
yes, that's huge too.
Doing that and then putting your personality into it is what I'd suggest. And a lot of times too, you're not that much under the time crunch, so you could be like, oh yeah, no problem, we can do this, and then you could be like, oh my god, and then call a more senior guy in your office and be like, okay, he just said this, what do I do now? And then he'd be like, okay, don't worry, just remove the conditions. Oh, okay, so we're gonna remove the conditions, and like it's not that there's a lot you can behind the scenes, just kind of like get through it. The public won't really know. So until when you're more experienced, you can figure it out. Like,
yeah, and like also like on like your social media and stuff, like share just like tips and tricks about real estate, right? Like, and that again, people are just going to start associating you as the real estate person. That's going to build credentials, going to build confidence.
Yeah. So like I have a real estate page on Facebook, and I just try to keep real estate stuff on there, and I do put some personal stuff in it, but I try to like get the real estate stuff off. Facebook's that weird one, right? Like,
yeah.
I leave all my real estate stuff off my personal one, just because nobody cares about my open house every 5 minutes, right? So, that's why on the other platforms it's a bit easier, and then I like to put me into it, so you're not just looking at house.
Yeah.
That's boring, especially if you have a client that's on your accounts. And they're like, Jeff, I already bought with you. Like, what are you doing? Like, they would rather just follow my journey than like see house.
Yeah, and then so for like first impressions and stuff, I think like just like dressing appropriately is huge, right? Being organized and prepared, I think it's just so awesome, particularly if you're new to it. Yeah, like, and like this is all really simple shit you can do, right? Like you can dress nicely, and like it doesn't have to cost you much, right?
Answer the phone and be on time.
Yeah.
You're already better than 50%.
Literally, yeah. Being on time's huge, but like if you can be prepared, that's fantastic, right? Like, and like get to know your clients a little bit. So like if they're not like necessarily digital savvy, like maybe you show up with a printed copy of the listing for them if they're that sort of buyer. If they're digitally savvy, you send them a PDF of it before you go to the viewing, right? Like just make it. Again, like just build a system around it and then consistently execute that system. And it's just gonna make you come off as more professional, more prepared than 99% of the other realtors out there.
Right on. So we're about 45 minutes in. We've got 25 people watching.
Guys, we're getting close. Come on.
Sure.
6 more. That's all we ask.
I think we might have touched 27 there at one point.
If I log in, does that count?
Just turn it on mute.
And we're up to 20 likes as well.
Sweet. Thanks, guys.
Cool. So another question here. Is there a benefit in investors becoming mortgage brokers? Can brokers handle their own deals? I personally don't know this one at all.
Yeah. I'm not sure.
I think you'd have to be very careful.
Yeah.
I'd have to phone a friend. Where's Spencer? Is he in the chat?
Spencer is in here. So
Okay,
Yeah,
Spencer
Spencer, jump
jump
in and tell us.
all right. So we'll let Spencer handle that one.
But like otherwise, like we do know mortgage brokers that are investors,
Yeah.
and like I think it's an interesting way.
Private.
You're going to learn a lot, right? You're going to get tons of experience. You're going to see tons of deals all the time. So I think it can be a fantastic way to learn about real estate and then use that knowledge in real estate to leverage into becoming an investor.
And just, I think we've talked about it before, but Spencer was really good to reach out to us, first person, mortgage broker wise, to want to be on the Weibo limo. So that's pretty cool. We're talking about ways to like stand out in your business. Well, Spencer's going above and beyond there, reaching out to us. So everybody else
that's
just
super
says,
awesome.
Cool concept, bro, and then that's it. So,
Yeah.
Anyway.
Although we did have Steph come out to one too. She came
Yeah,
out.
yeah, sorry, yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
she's
like
up
again
north,
though, like
north, right?
yeah.
Yeah, Stratford.
But she's falling off on IG, so.
I'll let her know that.
Shots fired.
Awesome. Okay, we got a question here from Bill Stoneback. I've been following you since the beginning.
Ooh, sweet.
Question. In today's market, is burring a thing of the past? Properties in my target area have gone up 20K or so in the past couple of years and cannot be burred anymore.
So I guess my only thoughts are like in a rising market, it often can be easier to burr because even like, so for example, I had a property that we recently slow burred. So it wasn't really a strategy, it was just kind of the way the situation evolved, but we bought this property last March and we're just in the process of refinancing it now. That's more than a year. That's a year and a half. But so we slow burred this one. And what had happened was like our plan was to refinance it at a valuation of 300 originally, and then the market got hotter, and so it ended up being worth 330 by the time we got around to refinancing it. So we actually got more money out than we were even initially planning, and that's because it was kind of like in a rising or a hot market. So I'm guessing the reason you're saying that it's tough to burn now in your market, one of two reasons. Either every single property's been fixed up and like it's nice now in whatever neighborhood or city you are, or the other option is just that properties are getting way more competitive on the MLS, in which case that means it's time to really start focusing on private deals now, right? And that's why constantly I'm talking about private deals, about the value behind information asymmetry, and about how and why you kind of really need to play off that information asymmetry, and the best opportunities are private deals usually. So I think that maybe it's time to pivot and start really trying to snag some private deals so that you can get burrable properties, or time to maybe try and find a wholesaler or talk to realtors for pocket listings, kind of those strategies.
Yeah, Bill says that it seems like prices are outpacing rents in his area.
Oh, okay. So like you mean that by the time you burr, you're not going to be 1% anymore, so you're not going to be cash flow positive or neutral. So yeah, that could be tougher. So I think the alternatives are becoming more comfortable with less cash flow would be one alternative, and in which case you're just going to become more comfortable with taking on appreciation if you think this is a long-term trend. Otherwise, there's no reason why you have to invest today either, right? You can, like, if you think that your market's kind of a little bit overheated or it's kind of past the precipice, then you can take a year off and wait and just be strategic and like really sift through those private deals until you find something. Otherwise, is there any way you can get more for rents, right? So ways that you potentially can get higher rents is, in my market, like strategic renovations. When I add a dishwasher, I can usually charge $50 more a month. When I add laundry, I can often charge like $50 to $100 more a month. Do you got garages you can rent out separately? Is there outbuildings you can rent out separately? Is there like vacant land or parking spaces you can rent out for storage or parking?
Vending machines?
Yeah, I'm literally putting a vending machine into one of my multifamily properties to try and juice the cash flows up a bit, right? Why not? I buy this used vending machine for $200. I'm going to buy a couple cases of pop, throw in the pop. Seems like I should pay for itself pretty fast. And yeah, maybe like, can you maybe find a different profile tenant? So could we maybe find a tenant that is willing to pay more because they want a real higher end product,
Furnished.
or they want furnished, or they want internet and cable included, or they want they want utilities included because they just don't want the hassle of anything. They want to know exactly what they're spending. Airbnb could be an alternative option. So yeah, I think that just really look at your numbers deep, and then again, if literally it can't be done, then maybe it's time to look outside of your market within a 4 to 5 hour drive. If you're in continental North America, I'm willing to bet that there is a market you can burr.
Got a question from Phil Wybo. He's popped in the chat here a few minutes ago. This is for first-time flippers. How much money should be made on your first flip, and what are some negatives and positives towards flipping residential over multifamily?
So I think answering that last question first, the difference between flipping residential and multifamily. Multifamily is a lot more analysis driven, right? It's a lot less emotional, just because the buyers should be approaching it from a less emotional standpoint. So it's really going to come down to like your cap rate or your cash flow or whatever metrics used in your market, but it's going to come down to how profitable a property it is and how much someone's willing to pay in order to get that profit. As far as like how much money should you make on your first flip, I think that it really comes down to, and we've talked about this before, and it's a very similar formula to what I've talked about with with burring properties. But essentially, you're just going to want to you want to buy it plus reno it and have it the total cost equal 70% roughly, let's say, of your ARV. So that's your after repair value. So if you're, say, going to flip a property and every house in that neighborhood sells for $200,000, ideally what I'd like to see you do is you buy it for $100, spend $40, and then you sell it and flip it, right? That's kind of the basic model there. And so the reason we're saying buy plus reno is 70, because then 10%-ish, is probably going to get eaten up by transaction and holding costs and those different things. So really by the time we're done, and then you're going to pay a realtor potentially when you go to sell it. And so essentially there's a good chance that your profit, even if you've done the 70% ARV, your profit's only going to be around 15% of the property. So, at first you might think geez, buy it and renovate it for only 140 when I'm going to sell it for 200. That's really tough to do. But you can see that on that deal, we're talking about your profit maybe on that $200,000 property is $30,000 gross, and then you still gonna pay taxes on it and things like that. So those are all just factors you want to take into consideration. at the same time, I don't think there's anything wrong with doing like your first flip or your first burr and having it maybe be kind of like a single instead of a home run, right? And so by that I mean like maybe you're going to flip a property and it's really just going to be cosmetic. You know you're not going to make much, but it's just going to be kind of your training experience, your learning process. It's going to be kind of just paid tuition, right? So I think that's another consideration just when you're looking to flip. So, yeah.
Cool. I just wanted to chime in here. A follow up. Spencer commented here in the chat regarding that question about
mortgage brokers. Yeah.
Investors becoming brokers. He basically said, as far as he knows, you can handle your own deal, and he would say it'd be similar to like if you were the realtor on your own deal. So you're getting access to
we add one more form usually just to sign off on.
Yeah, maybe there's some disclosures and stuff you have to do, but that makes sense. I thought that a couple of the mortgage brokers I thought that they just did their own mortgages, but what's kind of interesting about a lot of mortgage brokers, depending on exactly what company you're working for, or what companies you work with, you may start to really get to know a lot of hard money lenders and private lenders. And so there's all kinds of interesting opportunities there because, again, this comes down to simple information asymmetry. A lot less people know about this shit, which means there's a lot more potential opportunities in that round. So, cool. Thanks, Spencer. Appreciate the...
Thank you.
He also added one advantage could be that you could buy down your own interest rate using your commission that you would make. So you have a little bit of play there too. So that's... so we got a lot of comments here from Millennial on Fire, which is Rosehard.
Oh, sweet. Okay, cool.
A couple comments here. He wants to get back into doing the Mike and Matt on Fire videos.
Yes, we do need to do that.
He said he misses your Monday MLS analysis videos.
Yeah.
And he's got kind of two questions that would be in that main vein of that. So, what are your thoughts on the short-term housing price in Ontario, and specifically London, Ontario? And a couple other questions. Are you guys finding that things are sitting longer? Are prices holding still since the spring? Or flat and boomed in the spring?
Yeah. So first of all, shout out to Michael. Appreciate you watching and commenting. If you guys don't know Michael Rosehart, hit him up on Facebook. He's doing daily live journals on Facebook Live, so it's really cool.
And Mike, we need to have another meeting.
We need to get back to our Monday meetings too. Yeah, we need to figure that out. Okay, but anyways, talking about the London, Ontario real estate market, I think that it's certainly not as hot as it was. We can say that with certainty.
My residential listings have sat longer than they were during that.
Yes.
Obviously, summer.
And we're starting to negotiate again with sellers, right? So that's a great sign that we're getting probably to a more balanced market again. It's been a while since I really dived into the stats the same way as we used to be doing. But my intuition and anecdotal experience says that I don't think there's a lot of softening going on in the prices unless you're negotiating well. But I think this is going to be a fantastic winter to negotiate. I think we're going to be making lots of offers once the snow flies. So I think I'm excited by that.
And we should talk a little bit about, I think there's some opportunities out there for you guys right now around Fanshawe College, because if anything's still for sale...
Actually, that stuff's getting soft. Yeah.
There's a strike.
Yeah.
So landlords are probably nervous, and buyers might be able to get in there and take them down a bit.
Well, and we even saw a property recently that was listed for under $250 on Fleming. It's been a while. It's been a few months since you could say that. It probably would have been 2016 since you could have said that. So that's another sign. And actually, I really do like that play with Fanshawe right now. Otherwise, in general, what do we think about the future for house prices? We've started seeing rumblings that the Toronto market's starting to get hot again. We often kind of have this 401 corridor syndrome, where essentially what happens is whatever happens in Toronto trickles down to the London, Ontarios, and a 6 month to 2 year phase. Just kind of depending on what sort of trend you're talking about exactly. But so my thoughts would be, I think we're going to have a cold market this late fall and winter. And so I think that there's going to be fantastic buying opportunities, fantastic negotiating opportunities over the December, January, February period. I think that barring any substantial changes in the major macroeconomics going on, I think that we're going to have the market's going to start warming up again. If Toronto continues to get warm and stay warm, I could see us warming up again this spring. And particularly if it was a cold winter, I think we could see a lot of people rush again to hit the market. And so I got a feeling that it's going to be a great time to buy this winter. And if you're going to sell or refinance, I think that this spring could still be a great opportunity. As far as what happens beyond that, I'm not really sure. It certainly seems like certain markets in Canada, like Toronto and Vancouver, come to mind off the top. They certainly seem very expensive compared to what I would expect. But we've been saying this for a long time now. I'm not sure how long can it continue indefinitely. Is this time different? Mm-hmm. Is it about to crumble tomorrow? I don't think anyone honestly has a crystal ball. There's a lot of people saying that they know what's going to happen, but what's interesting is, like, at the end of the day, it comes down to the consumer, right? Is the consumer willing to sacrifice more and more and more in order to just have their home be a castle, or are they going to start reprioritizing, or are they just going to not have the capital to even reallocate?
And there's going to be mortgage changes January 1st.
Yes, and so people expect that to also cool off the market. So the kind of general concept behind those mortgage changes were that it's going to be harder to qualify now, and you're going to qualify for less. And so the idea is that it's going to reduce the average person's purchasing power by like around 15-17%.
There's theoretically demand for all the cheaper properties. Like, everybody might have to flock to them, right?
So theoretically that could also cause the market to soften. I don't think it's going to have as big of an impact as people think. The real estate market honestly is it adapts very fast.
It'd be interesting to hear what Spencer thinks about that too, for his industry, how he's gonna have to qualify buyers and all that.
Yeah, actually, Rosehart was just asked a question while you guys got to that point. He was curious on your thoughts of, the new mortgage qualification rules making it harder for some qualified buyers. Will that, combined with a higher interest rate, cool things?
I'm not sure. Like, it definitely, it's not going to make the market hotter. Mm-hmm. The only thing is, will we see a bunch of demand eaten up early? Like, are people going to buy a lot more in November and December this year because they're going to try and get in while the market's good?
So I bet you the first quarter is going to be a little cold.
Yeah.
And it's usually like that 90 days where everybody kind of panics and figures it out. And then I bet you the second quarter just goes...
Yeah. And so that's kind of what I'm saying. I think December, January, February, the market's not going to be fantastic for selling. It normally isn't anyways. It's usually a great time to buy in Canada during those seasons. And I think that's just going to hold doubly true. But I also think by spring, barring a fundamental change in the economic picture of Canada or North America or the world, I think we'll just keep chugging along. And the nice thing is London never saw the same appreciation as a lot of other major markets. So we're still relatively affordable. We're still doing 1% rural property. So that's kind of my sleep at night factor.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Question here from Problem Solved. What is your long-term goal for your portfolio? Have you got an exit plan?
That's a great question. So I don't think enough real estate investors focus on what their exit plan is. I spent a lot of time thinking about it. I spent a lot of time tinkering with it.
It changes, right?
Yeah.
Was there a time where you're like, I just want to pay off one of my properties?
Yeah, no. There was a time when I was like, I'm just going to pay off my 3 student rentals and I'm going to be baller. And then your priorities change, your experience level changes. Right now, I think the future of my portfolio is trending towards larger multifamily properties. And simply just kind of the scalability of that, and it's much easier to implement systems. I still love burn properties though, so I think I'm still going to do that frequently. But mainly just kind of do those with friends and people. Yeah, just strategic partnerships. I think what's interesting though, and I plan to do a video on this in the future, is a lot of real estate investors we've spoken to, Dan and Sean, have mentioned that long term their goal is to become a hard money lender, right? So what ends up happening is a lot of real estate investors, they build up this large portfolio, and then once they decide that they're going to retire, say maybe they hit 40, 50, 60, whatever kind of when they want to retire, they'll maybe sell off their portfolio, take all the cash proceeds from that and start lending it out to essentially young real estate entrepreneurs and be able to charge them a good interest rate. You can usually get probably between 8 and 12% on these hard money loans, and sometimes you can even get more. You can get closer to credit card rates where you're talking 16 or 18%. I know some guys will pay depending on the exact situation. And so, a lot of real estate investors like pivoting to that because that's starting to get into really, truly hands-off investing where you're just kind of managing the portfolio and you're just kind of managing your portfolio risk there. Mm-hmm. So I think that's really enticing, and I could definitely see a version of myself where that becomes a exit strategy. Otherwise, Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I think Rosehart wanted to do that too, right? I believe.
Yeah. I think a lot of real estate investors
No,
it crosses their mind at one point or another, right?
Fantastic, yeah.
Yeah, because you think about that. If you had like a portfolio of $3 to say $5 million, you're getting 10% a year. That's
and it's like we were just saying earlier, it changes because you would never have thought that day one, and now all of a sudden that's an opportunity, and then like. Who knows? Maybe we'll just be YouTube stars. Instead.
And so like honestly, the evolution of my thought process is like it's constantly changing. So originally it was, I was going to buy an investment property, and that was going to help just be part of my retirement plan, and then that was kind of it. And then it was like, oh, I'm going to buy a property every year, and then like 20 years from now, I'm going to have 20 properties, and the first one's just going to get paid off, and it's going to be this waterfall of paying off properties.
And I know I got a lot of comments from friends and family being like, well, what about your pension and all that, right? And then you right away think, oh, well, when these are paid off, you'll just get $5K a month kind of thing.
Yeah.
There's my pension, right? So all of a sudden, it's pretty interesting once you put that all together. But who knows? Like we're going to LA, maybe we'll be selling Lamborghinis there. You never know, right? So
maybe we'll never come back from La La Land.
Move there. We'll have multiple places.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, Spencer's still in the chat here. He said he could speak at length, obviously, about the new mortgage rules, and maybe to reach out to him. Maybe you guys could do a video. Sometime for that.
All right, good idea.
Cool. So we're just over an hour now. We've got we're down to 22 people right now, 27 likes. We've got a few questions queued up, so I guess we'll keep going.
Let's crank through some.
Couple questions for you, Jeff, from Bolly Brand. He says he found you on Graham's channel when he did the 100K in a year video. He was asking, I guess, if you could share any light on how this year's going, maybe either dollar value of deals or number of deals you've done.
Yeah, and I think even Rosehart, and if he's still in here,
he's still here.
Talked about being transparent about it rather than like most Canadian and like probably North Americans.
Yeah,
we don't talk about money. Like, don't ask what the salary is, but I'll explain. Yes, I think I'm going to be at like 210 this year in my second year.
Nice.
So,
congrats, man. That's awesome.
Yeah. Obviously the third quarter was pretty fantastic. And I have a lot of you guys to thank, obviously you to thank, not necessarily all the deals that we did together, but like just like being an ambassador for me and the Why Below.
Building that network.
It was just building that brand. So I probably could have made more than the 100 in the first year, but my first so many months was not very good. And I think I'm going to do a video on this about me being negative 25,000. Like I had other monies, but like just looking in my bank account, I was like negative 25 on a line of credit that I like hacked away at. It could be like a whole month of work, and I made $3,000, and I just put it at the line of credit. Now I'm at negative 22. But then there was some networking event, and then something happened, and then like back up to this, and like so I'll do a video on that. But we're not even done the year yet, but I think I'm at 210 right now. So
awesome, but we're going to at least have to get it to $250,000 for the thumbnail.
Shit. Okay. Because like I kind of wanted to like just not do as much for the next one. not like to not do work, but like to focus on bigger things. That's why we're going to LA.
But that's such a more clickable thumbnail.
Yeah.
250,000 over 210.
How
just
I
saying.
doubled my Well,
think about the thumbnail.
Yeah. No, it's insane. It's insane, guys. I've never made that kind of money, and it was all from like every single day hard work. Like, there's people that could work their whole life and not make that. And another important thing, in my second year in real estate, I did cut expenses down a lot. I think in the first year, I feel like I spent 40 or something like that to make 100, and I don't think I bet I only spent like 20 or 30 this year on stuff. That's that's working for a brokerage, that costs money. You have to pay into that. All the membership stuff I have, and then that 200K, that's only the commission. That has nothing to do with the real estate portfolio. And my accountant gets a nice thing to look at. So, any thumbs up from that?
Yeah. No, people were actually asking if that was commission based or not.
Yeah.
So you answered that for them.
Yeah, that was commission.
Tons of compliments. You're crushing it, Jeff. Jeff's killing it.
And the beauty thing is,
wow, great
I'm
work.
not sure. Like my brokerage has such an amazing. I can't really overly talk about it, but let's just say I keep a lot of that. I pay a monthly fee, and they barely take my commission.
The brokerage is structured to reward motivated hard workers, right? If you work hard, you're going to you get to keep a lot of what you kill. Where other brokerages eat a lot of what you can.
And then just remember, if you're like new, I don't know why I thought this, but I didn't need the Monday morning meetings and all that stuff. Everybody seems like they're so afraid when they want to get into real estate, and I made mistakes too. And like you're thinking, oh, I need all this help and stuff like that. If you can just do it on your own, there's so much more money out there, and like all the resources are online for free and everything like that.
Yeah.
Like, don't think you need your broke, because then they're just they're justifying their 10% they're taking off you, 30, 40 in certain areas, or there's different brokerages where, and I'm not allowed to talk bad about any of these strategies, so it's up to you guys. If you need that training, go for it, but I would say if you're watching our channel already, so you got a leg up on probably 90% of realtors out there anyways. So, yeah.
And so one last thing, I just kind of want to build upon what you said, but like, you said like it was all that hard work, and it was all that hard work, but the key is working smart too, right? Like, and literally, I get why sometimes like some of our hard work doesn't look like hard work, right? And sometimes that's by design, sometimes that's not. But at the same time, like you're not working hard if you're working as a realtor and you just go into the office and sit there and play on your computer for 10 hours. That you didn't actually work at all today.
Yeah, I used to joke there's no money in the office.
Yeah.
Because the money's out there, right?
Yeah.
So, and the problem is you go to the office and then you just end up talking to people probably about life and like, you know, how's your kids doing? Like, which is great, like, but it's just not really getting you money.
Yeah, like,
day,
are you being busy or are you being productive, right? Is the key there. And if you're being productive, eventually those actions are going to pay off.
And I'll be snippy sometimes back when they're like, oh, you coming to this meeting? Like, no, I'm too busy selling real estate. And then they're like, because like all the people that have time to go sit in these meetings aren't out there looking at some properties and stuff like that. And I know in our first year, we were out there like every day looking at 4 or 5 things.
We still try to a fair
helped
bit.
me out so much, because then I was looking at them, and even if it wasn't good for Matt, I was able to talk about them to other investors, and then it was
just because you just get to know every property and every street, and you get to know a lot of the landlords, and like all that just builds up your confidence, your credentials, just everything.
And I think the reason I was able to make that money in year 2 was focusing on the brand. Like every day, you guys see me on Instagram and stuff, and now I'm getting over to YouTube. So that's so important. If you're just gonna be like the secret realtor, nobody's gonna know, right?
Awesome. Another question for you, Jeff.
Oh, sweet.
How do you prepare during a traditional weaker winter season for home sales averages to have a strong spring season when the market picks back up?
Yeah, you start banking all these people that want to like list their home in April and in May. I think last year everybody's, you'd make that lead in December, or it could be like some friend or somehow networked on your social media, and they just be like, hey, we're thinking of listing our home in the spring. Just keep banking those people. All of a sudden your third quarter is insane. I was having like 30 August closings or something like that. I couldn't even keep track of them pretty much. It was insane.
Yeah, and so I think like the key to that is being organized, right? So like create a system where you're tracking those leads, not just like, oh shit, I forgot to text Susie.
January would be like, hey, how's it going? And then they're like, good. And like, so like, because if you literally forget about in December that you're supposed to list that property in April or May, you try to reach out to them,
and you want to like lead them so that you can list it in April, right? So that means like you're reaching out to them in March, being like, hey guys, like,
how's the renos going?
Right? Yeah.
Oh yeah, we're thinking of doing that bathroom downstairs. Like, okay, let me know if you need
when
any
can I
help with that.
schedule my photographer?
Yeah, stuff like that. Or like, do you need any help? I know a contractor. Maybe start being a little bit like that. Now you're kind of helping them, and I like to say like, let's make you guys some money this summer, this spring, this winter. The public kind of likes to hear that. Like my realtor's not just taking money off of me. He's in this for me to make money in my sale of my property. Then all of a sudden, I think that's pretty powerful as a realtor.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Question from Steven here. Question for the both of you. There aren't a lot of multifamily buildings available in Newfoundland. What are your thoughts on owning out of province and using property management to run everything?
Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with owning out of province. Jeff owns out of province. We've talked about it a couple times on other live shows. So Jeff owns in Alberta. I personally only own in London, so that's where I live. That's here. But yeah, if you're not finding the right opportunities, then you still want to invest in real estate, you're going to need to start looking at investing in other markets. using property management, like essentially you're either going to need a strategic partnership or property management in order to run that, right? So the strategic partner could be, you may have an active partner that lives in the city that you own your rental properties, and maybe the way that they earn their keep is by operating the property and you bring the money and the qualifying for the mortgage or whatever. Alternatively, yeah, do the property management thing. I think the key is just, we talked about it earlier in the video if you weren't watching at that time, Stephen, but essentially just really vet them, set out clear expectations, and like at the end of the day, please realize, at least at the start, you're really still going to have to manage the property manager, right? That's how you're going to get the best results. So just systematize the process, document it.
And since you're not limited to where you are, I think you really got to study the national economics, like what city you do want to go into, because it obviously doesn't matter. You don't have to be a quick flight. It can be a further flight. But then you're going to have to find that subject matter expert on the ground. So it could be people in Ontario that are in the chat, or I know we do have people in Calgary in the chat, stuff like that. Because like, you don't have to do Halifax, right? So,
So and the key, like the way you're going to figure out what market you want to invest in is reverse engineer what you're trying to accomplish with your real estate investing, right? And then what markets allow for that. So if you want to be flipping, find a market that's either warm or hot, ideally, right? If you're going to be burring, find a property ideally where you can still meet the 1% rule upon your refinance. You know, if you're looking at, you know, a cap rate of X, you're going to need to focus on certain cities.
Like Ontario in general, we have a lot of landlord-tenant rules.
Yeah.
Most of us would say against the landlord.
You may decide to look for a jurisdiction that's way more friendly to landlords.
Yeah. Cool.
And so, just one thing to be aware of, you know, if you invest, say, in the U.S. as a Canadian, guys, right, if you own more than $100,000 of foreign property, you need to report that. So just as an FYI, little
CPA to the IRS or to the CRA?
Well, you're going to report it on your T1 general, It's going to get reported to everyone.
Got it.
Matthew French has a question for you. How do you present your BRRRR business model to the bank for the first time and have them take you seriously? Yeah,
so I think I've actually been writing a lot about this recently. And so I think the key is a lot of real estate investors will essentially kind of have like a portfolio, a little thing where I talked about this in my recent video that came out earlier this week about how to impress the bank. And so essentially the idea there was that you're just going to be super organized. And so the same thing with this burning a rental property, you just want to be very organized. So like either have a couple deals that you've analyzed in the past and like kind of break it down for them. If you know someone that's actively doing this business model already, like don't be afraid to be like, hey, can like I literally just write up exactly what you're doing, and then can I present that to the bank? And then otherwise, like come in when you're actually trying to qualify for a mortgage on a specific BRRRR property, like come in with the actual listing, right? Like a printed copy of the listing. Come in knowing exactly what the rents are on the property, know what your expenses you anticipate are, and then just like do everything I talked about to my YouTube video, but then in addition to that, like just know how this property is run, the details on it, and
and Rain would say have a sophisticated investor. I think you guys can DM me. I might be able to send it to you, and it just like shows all your assets, shows everything. It just makes it so simple for the bank. The cover letter, who you are, like what's going on. I think even like you can go like a picture of you in a suit or something like that. Like it's just like streamlined. It would be like even if an appraiser was coming and you're like, here it is, here's the comps, here's what I paid, and here you're just making his life so much easier. And then he's gonna have the appraiser or like the bank's gonna have a lot of trouble saying no to you when like something official.
And the key is like, do you always have to do that in order to get the mortgage? No, but it's going to make it a lot easier. And are you more likely going to succeed? Yes. And so it's just better to get into those best practices right from the start and consistently execute on them. I know at times I'm guilty of not doing it, and it's like
it takes work. Right?
You get it's work.
You got lucky,
you get sloppy,
you got lucky,
right?
And then you're gonna hit a wall, and
you're
not gonna know why.
It's better to just get into those best practices now. And these days, I'm focusing more and more on systematizing my business, because at the end of the day, there may come a time when you want to step away from the business, but you want to keep it operating, right? And you're going to need really well documentation, systems, and procedures in place, just essentially so that you can hand it over to like an employee, right?
Exactly. This is a business, guys, so treat it like that. So.
Cool. A couple more like technology-based questions. So people want to know Jeff, what CRM system are you using, if any? And what do you like about it? And then Kellen also wanted to know how you guys manage your to-do lists.
Yeah, I do not have one. It's one of those things I keep not doing. I keep getting lucky, like we just kind of talked about. It's just, I go just back through a lot of my texts, and if I haven't texted to somebody in a while, I'll shoot them a text kind of thing, that kind of stuff. We see a lot of the investors that we invest with because of all
Networking.
of our, we have London on Fire, so I'm seeing like 30 people in like one evening quickly.
And also even just social media touches, right? That is helping build that relationship. At the same time, I think it probably is an area that both of us could drastically improve upon.
Yeah, I just never wanted to be so robotic of like,
but
hey,
it's
happy birthday.
You don't want to be robotic like that, but like
Happy
still
Halloween.
systematizing it always
Merry
makes
Christmas.
sense. No, you don't want to do that, but at the same time, like it should be, you know, if they're an active customer of yours, you should be touching them on whatever's an appropriate frequency level, right?
Yep.
So, yeah.
And like, I know that all in the past, like you're supposed to write the cards and send them out, and I was trying to do that at first, and then I just started doing everything I'm doing. It's branding my Instagram and branding Facebook, and then it's leading to like more and bigger customers. So did I lose a couple? Potentially, but then I was just, instead of just trying to keep them, I was going above and beyond and getting bigger and better leads and stuff like that. And I'm sure the books will tell you not to do that because these guys are the ones who are going to keep referring you out. But yeah, I'm still liking all the baby photos and everything, and saying nice Halloween costumes to certain clients that are just residential clients. But it's tough, like to get over to their house to drop off a bottle of wine or something like that.
But that's where like kind of being the hub, right?
Yeah.
Like so like having your own networking groups and like where you're kind of managing it. Or
I go to one thing and see 30, 40 people,
Yeah.
and like 15 of them have bought with me or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So that's pretty easy.
But so as far as like to-do lists and stuff, I used to just have like constantly like written lists everywhere that I'd lose and stuff. I still do that way too often. And I like for important things that need to get done, I put them in my calendar. These days also now I kind of have like a personal assistant, and so we meet up once a week, and like I just knowledge dump on Katie and just give her everything that's kind of going on. Be like, Katie, you need to babysit me on this because I haven't done it yet, but I need to do it by this date. And so like I'm literally trying to outsource portions of that these days.
And I know like my buddy Dean's like this, and you were like this for a while, but like, I know what I have to do revolving like 7 days. Like
Yes.
Like I just know what, like the odd time I'm like, shit, what do I got Wednesday morning? But I just like know everything I have to do at all times for 7 days. I would never be able to like use a planner or something. Like in high school when they gave those to you, I think by September like the 10th I was already not using it because I would just know that the test is on Friday or something like that.
But like for important things, we have like you guys know I love whiteboards. But further down this hall, there's just like a hallway of whiteboards, and I just like giant lists of everything there, right? And actually, that's where some of our customer relationship management is too. But it's more partner relationship. But
the iPhone or whatever device you have, I'm sure it has this. I say, remind me to call Bob tomorrow morning, and then when I wake up, it says call Bob. So like I'll quickly put notes into my phone like that that I know I might actually forget, and I do that. Or let's say it's like pay property taxes at the end of the month. I'll be like, remind me at the end of the month to pay property taxes or something like that, right? So little tips to streamline my life there. So.
Awesome. All right, chat's slowing down a little bit. I got another question here for you. We are getting close to our hour 30 mark, but we're about another 10 minutes or so.
Subscribe to my channel. I want to be above 202 by the end of this.
Question from Brian Q. How did the fast go, and how long was it? Maybe you guys want to talk a little bit about that.
Yes.
Of cake.
So the fast was good. It was 60 hours long, so we fasted for 60 hours, and
I did 62.
Okay, well that wasn't the thing we were doing.
No, I know. It's just better than people.
And so yeah, it was good. I didn't eat the day before, so like we just drank the entire night,
we were
and then I started a 60-hour
poker
fast.
night
So
for learners.
I honestly, the last 8 hours hit me harder than I thought they would.
I think you had some beer nuts, like right.
Yeah, you got me like a bowl of nuts, and I did eat them because I was like, I need something.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was fun. It was good. I think that like I will probably play again around with it in the future. It's one of those things where I just kind of like challenges randomly.
Day
right?
one is always the hard one for me.
Yeah, same.
At like certain points, like all of a sudden, like it could be 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and it's just like, oh, I'm hungry, right? And then you're like, no, wait, I'm doing this thing now. I can't go just eat, right? It was funny too. When after the fast was broken, I opened up my fridge. And I haven't really opened up this fridge.
I know,
like 2
it was
days,
weird.
And I'm like, what's in here? Like, so.
Yeah. But yeah, at the same time, like we had dabbled with fasting a fair bit throughout our lives.
There's no way I would have been able to do that, like brand new cold turkey.
And we're not recommending people try and do that cold turkey. And again, like we're not necessarily like promoting it as a weight loss strategy or anything. It was just honestly a personal challenge to, you know.
And like a lot of entrepreneurs, and we've kind of talked about it before. This is what they do. Like in Canada, and like because you went to school, you eat breakfast before you go, and then they have like the bell rings, and you eat lunch, and then like same when you get into the corporate world, you guys get a lunch break and all that stuff, right? I'm sure the best part when you're an entrepreneur, and even when I was working those lunch break things, you're just like, oh, can I just like not have this lunch break?
Yeah,
and get home an hour.
Done. Yeah.
Like no, but they want you to like take this lunch break, and then you still gotta spend the 8 hours instead of like 7 hours, right?
Yeah.
But so when you're an entrepreneur, you can just work all day and then eat at the end of the day, pretty much. And,
and so like we both regularly intermittent fast, and like what I really like about that, honestly, is just like I'm really lazy. So it means like I'm only cooking or preparing food or ordering out once that day, right? I'm not doing it multiple times. It also just like lets my flow of my day a lot more. Like honestly, like people that have to like schedule when they eating and shit, like it seems like a whole thing. I'm just like waking up and like you just like fluidly go through your day, and then at the end of the day you eat. It's just, I like it.
Yep. And like we get way more done not like sitting down and taking an hour lunch, right?
Yeah.
So. Cool. There was a question or two about your trip. Maybe you guys want to kind of wrap it up, but you can talk about your trip
wrap
a little
up
more
based on the trip. So from the 15th to the 22nd, we're going to be in LA visiting our buddy Graham, and so we're going to hopefully shoot a couple of YouTube videos. We're hoping to do Friday at 5:30 live with him. So he'll be on the cash flow to go. Hopefully we can top our 31.
Well, he'll share on his Snapchat and everything, and we'll bring in.
It'll be tons of fun. I've never been to California, so that's going to be so cool.
Me neither. I didn't think about that.
Jeff Weibel first.
I get to step off the plane first.
He's just running. So I think that's gonna be tons of fun. We're also hoping one of the Peter's partners in intermittent fasting. We're gonna be meeting up with Eric in San Diego. Maybe do a couple collab videos there. And also, so if you're from LA or you're from California area and you do YouTubing or social media or whatever, hit us up and let's meet up at some point while we're in LA, and maybe we can even sit down, chat, do a video or something.
What do you do? You go to Starbucks in LA and write screenplays or something? We'll go there.
So it should be tons of fun. We'll also hopefully do like a meetup with Graham, right?
You think we'll see Ty Lopez driving around?
Well, I assume we're just going to see celebrities everywhere, right?
Celebrities, I can't wait. We're going to get a star map.
Yeah, and like I'm going to get spoiled then we're going to want to go to New York, and I just assume we're going to bump into Gary Vee there. So
when are we going to do New York? We need a good YouTuber from New York.
Yeah. Find us a YouTuber in New York we should collab with, and then bug them until they agree to collab with us.
Yeah.
All right, I think that's as good as any point to wrap up.
So we're going to go to the Palisade right now. For the social lab. So
the social lab, which is my YouTube incubator, we kind of have a partnership that's evolving with Palisade. So we're about to hit up Palisade and play together. You can
find the social lab on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube as well.
Yeah.
If you're watching live, come on down. If not, just follow all those devices.
Yeah, because we're actually always doing cool shit at Palisade. Next week, I haven't even told you guys about this, but we're going to get like personal access to their new VR.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, yeah. So I think that's pretty cool. They're doing all kinds of cool stuff. But otherwise, smash that like button if you haven't smashed it. Hit the subscribe button if you're not already subscribed. Ring my bell so you get notifications of when these videos go live. And otherwise,
thank you, Randomly Interesting.
No problem, guys.
Thank you guys very much.
Bye. Nice. I didn't puke.